Welcome and thank you for joining us today. I'm Beth Gibbons, the Program Manager here at Schools Plus, and this webinar is for schools who are wishing to submit an application for our single year partnership opportunity, which is open to all schools nationwide who fit our criteria. Joining me today is my colleagues Andrew and Rona, and Andrew is our National Coach Manager and Rona is our Administration Officer here at Schools Plus, and all three of us work closely with our schools and look forward to supporting you through this application process. So before we dive in, we'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we are coming to you from. I'd like to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. We pay our respects to elders past and present. Our First Nations people are this country's first teachers, and we still have much to learn from their culture. We're now going to turn off our videos so that you can enjoy the benefit of focusing on the key information in the following slides. So an overview of Schools Plus. So Schools Plus seeks to help close the education gap caused by disadvantage. So we believe that all children should have access to great education regardless of their background. As a registered charity, we work with teachers and schools in disadvantaged areas to empower them with funding, coaching and resources to implement initiatives that will help their students succeed. Our support is directed to Australian schools that have a value below 1,000 on the National Index of Community Socio-Educational Advantage, ICSEA. We make a determined effort to support schools at the lower end of this ICSEA scale because they are the most in need. More than 4,600 schools across Australia and all sectors, so government, Catholic and independent, are eligible for support through Schools Plus. We were a recommendation in the original Gonski review that an organisation should be established to allow schools greater access to philanthropic support, and we began supporting schools directly in 2015. Since then, we've been able to raise over $60 million, which is benefiting over 500,000 students, over 1,300 schools and 40,000 teachers. So the single year partnership opportunity, this is an opportunity for short-term projects, so over 1 year, that aim to improve outcomes for children and young people in specific subject areas or address specific challenges for targeted groups. So these might be short-term focused but have significant impact within this timeframe. We're looking for projects that are embedded in schools' longer-term strategy, supported by the school leadership and are researched and evidence-based. Some examples of projects in the past have included initiatives to re-engage a targeted group of students in their education, teacher professional development in areas like numeracy or literacy, STEM projects that introduce robotics or coding to certain year levels, or using multi-tiered support systems to identify students at risk of anxiety or depression, and targeted evidence-based mental health interventions in the school setting. This funding round is not funding projects that are covered by core funding from your department, such as building projects, permanently staffed positions, or things like shade cloths, sport court upgrades or playgrounds. So please check the guidelines to see for other elements that we're unable to support in this round. So what is available? We've got three elements that is available to support schools. We have funding. Funding for a single year ranges in value, and that depends if you're applying as a single school or as an existing cluster of schools. So if you are applying as an individual school, it's $30,000 you can apply for up to. Or if you're working as an existing cluster of schools, so group between 3 to 10 schools, you can apply for up to $60,000. Also part of the partnership, single year partnership, is coaching. So schools will be partnered with a coach allocated from a team of highly experienced education professionals. Schools Plus coaches provide an independent sounding board for school leaders and teachers beyond their education system. All our coaches have had extensive recent experience in schools and will provide each school with up to 12 hours of coaching over the duration of the project. The third part to the single year partnership opportunity is program management and evaluation. So all successful schools will receive ongoing program management. So through this process, schools can evaluate the success of their project using a project planning tool to track the impact of their project. I touched on eligibility before. So the key things is that ICSEA value, so having a school below 1,000, and this applies to a single school, but if you are applying as a cluster, all schools within that cluster need to have an ICSEA value below 1,000, and only one project per school or cluster is able to apply. Again, please check the guidelines for a full list of eligibility requirements. We are looking at supporting projects that start in Term 1 2024 and have a close link to your school's existing strategic plan and supported by the leadership team. We're looking for innovative projects that might trial a strategy that seeks to enhance teaching and learning outcomes in your school context. It might be an extension of an existing initiative that's having a proven impact. It might be a replication where existing strategies are being tried in a new location or spreading out into a cluster of schools. Projects of all types will be considered, things such as STEM, numeracy, literacy, professional learning and capacity building, wellbeing, community engagement or allied health partnerships. Schools located in remote and very remote locations are encouraged to apply as well. So I just wanted to cover just a couple of tips for filling in a grant application. Read and research the guidelines. So this is so important. This is where we've developed some guidelines. They're quite thorough, and it's where you're able to gain that useful information about what we're looking for in an application, how much is available, those eligibility requirements, and some examples of projects that we've supported in the past. Again, cannot reiterate this enough. Make sure you're eligible. Many applications are knocked back in the first cull because the application is ineligible. So before you start filling in the form, read those guidelines. If you're unsure, please reach out and we're happy to offer support or assistance. When you are filling in your application, answer the questions directly and clearly and be specific as possible. So for instance, we're looking for you to say things like, our aim is to increase student attendance from 65% to 80%, which is better than we aim to increase student attendance. So tell a compelling story throughout your application. Explain the current situation and the need, why you've chosen this approach, what activities you'll undertake and who'll benefit. Avoid using acronyms or jargon. So write for a layperson. Don't assume the funder knows anything about your school. Include a clear and thorough budget. So we want to know exactly how the funds will be spent. Be specific about those budget items. So explain equipment to be purchased. So 10 iPads or 25 textbooks, or the funding for teacher relief. So 5 days at $400 per day. Make sure the budget matches those activities that you've already outlined in the application. And finally, submit the application on time. So check the closing date and time and don't miss the deadline. We receive a lot of applications and unfortunately we can't accept any late applications. Try not to leave it to the last minute to avoid any of those computer glitches or late dramas that may stop you submitting. So I'm going to hand over to my colleague Andrew, and he is going to run through now some of those key questions and what we are looking for in those. Andrew.
Thanks, Beth. The next few slides are designed to help you consider some key aspects in putting a sound application together and help you really maximise your opportunity of getting success in this space. It's really important that you provide a lot of information around giving the student beneficiary information and the goal of the project so we can get a sound idea of what the core of your project is actually about, but we'll also be asking for some information in the following areas. That's project rationale, student-focused intervention, strategies that chunk down the concept of your project, how you intend to measure what you're doing, and how you intend to sustain the initiative moving forward. In relation to project rationale, we require you to provide an outline of what is happening in your school currently and why it's important to bring about change in your particular context. You may want to consider what your project is about in relation to a response to local issues, challenges, or gaps. Things we'll be asking you to elaborate on include, how do you know that this is a need for your community? What does the data tell you? And you'll be asked to explain and support your answer with some evidence or research or some local data that can help pinpoint the need. In relation to student-focused intervention, this is the part of the application where you're able to specifically identify the student outcomes you're aiming to transform as a result of your work. This might include an activity or program that targets a key area for the students in your school or learning community. For example, this could be an oral language program that screens students to identify those at risk and provides targeted interventions to address skill gaps. In terms of strategies, this is the section where we're asking you to sort of chunk down your big goal or idea into more manageable bite-size areas that allow you to track achievement a little bit more closely. We'll ask you to look at some activities that you'll undertake, such as start professional learning or the design of a new lesson-based pedagogy that you plan to implement. We'll also ask you to consider the time frame in which these activities will occur and break them down in terms of how they'll roll out across the project lifespan. Consider the resources that you'll need to implement your strategies and who will be involved in this. Don't forget to include the human resource element of this. You might like to consider the following areas in determining your strategies to help support your project goal, and they are school leadership, teaching and learning, and family and community engagement. Measurement is a really important aspect of your project goal and your overall project, and we'll ask you to consider it in relation to some of the data that you hold within your school context. What will you measure and what tools will you use to measure your growth? Perhaps there's something that you already utilise within your school context, or will you be required to develop a new tool to measure your growth? Baseline data is a really important concept in developing an outline or map for your project moving forward. It will help you to establish the current area of achievement that your particular school context is currently in, but will also provide an excellent course for success throughout your project lifespan. Your coach will help you in developing these baseline data points, but it would be really helpful if you could explore some of those concepts within your project application. Some of the key questions that you might consider during this section of your application might include, what will look different and how will you know? What does success look like? And what will the change be like in mindset, skills, or teaching practice in your particular school? Lastly, we need to explore some areas of sustainability within your project for your project application. And some key questions might include, how will this initiative be sustained into the future? For example, if you utilise part of the funding for additional teacher time to make a project work, what is the consideration from where funding will come from after the funding period with Schools Plus draws to a close? What will the effect be of the project on staff capacity, and how will staff be able to carry forward the initiative into future years? It is hoped that long after the project lifecycle with Schools Plus has concluded, that your initiative will continue to spawn success within your school community for years to come. I'd now like to hand over to my colleague Rona, who will communicate with you some key dates and processes moving forward. Rona.
The partnership round will be open for 5 weeks between the 7th of August to the 11th of September. Initial assessments and shortlisted schools will be notified in late September. Shortlisted schools will then be further assessed by independent experts in the field of their project theme. This will be followed by online interviews to be held in October. This is an opportunity to gather additional information about projects for our understanding. We'll send the interview questions beforehand. For the schools in the interview stage, Schools Plus will make the final selection of projects and send notifications in early December. We aim to have successful schools to have their first coaching session to be conducted in Term 4 2023 or Term 1 2024. For funds to be released, schools must sign the funding agreement and complete the required documents to be approved by the coach and submitted to Schools Plus. To apply for the partnership round, please refer to the guidelines on the Schools Plus website for further information. It would be advantageous to your project team to set aside adequate time to review and discuss the key questions before submitting the application. You can contact Schools Plus for any questions, or you can book a time with a coach for project design support. This will be available between the 17th of July and the 1st of September. Late applications will not be accepted. As a reminder, applications will open from the 7th of August, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, with a closing date on the 11th of September, midnight Eastern Standard Time.
Great. So hopefully that provided you with the information needed to complete a quality application. As Rona said, please reach out to us at Schools Plus email address. Go to our website under Partnership Round for Schools, where there's all the information provided, guidelines, FAQs. And thank you so much and good luck.